What's going on, y'all? So, I just want to talk about reflections. Um, we're told that whoever you attract is your reflection. Um, Personally, I believe that um, that's true, but I think it depends. And I say that because um, what I've experienced in the people that are drawn to me, and I don't say this to say that I'm anything in particular, right? I'll say it that way. But I know that where I am is an elevated state uh, for most people my age. That I can say. And with that knowledge, I realize that I have a higher standard than many people. Not all people, but many people. I'm sure there are people that have higher standards than I do. But my point is, with that higher standard, I tend to be on many people's radar, a person of elevated status, or elevated, not necessarily status, elevated consciousness, I'll say. And again, there are levels to this, many levels I have never reached, many levels that people younger than me have reached, but also levels that I've reached that other people have not. And it's interesting to me because when it comes to reflections, people that come to me from very different backgrounds. South Africans, church folks like myself, who were church folks or whatever, people who are just into all manner of things, like, and have always been in their life, like, because I see life from such a broad perspective and of possibilities. And so what is in me is all possibility. What is in me is the understanding that I can be anything at any moment. And that's the way that I'm built, right? But because I know that, I also know that people that come to me are people that are not like me at all. People that I can be like to relate to them, but they're not necessarily like me as far as my persona is concerned. My inner self, I know, is limitless. So I know that it's possible, even if I'm designed to be a very individual person, and I am. But my inner self knows that it's possible for me to become something that I'm not in order to relate to people that a person like my persona would not be able to relate to. And so all of the people that are drawn to me as a person of higher consciousness, or attempting to be a person of higher consciousness, attempting to be a coach, or a person who provides direction and even leadership, but direction and guidance on people's journeys and all of that kind of stuff, because of my knowledge, because of my gifts, so on and so forth. I know that people coming to me, excuse the wind, hopefully it wasn't too loud, but I know that the people coming to me are people that I can reach with how I know how to interact with people. But that doesn't mean that everybody that comes to me is me. I have those moments. You have to remember. You have to remember that there are such things as resonance, harmony, and dissonance. And I talk about this all the time, but I'm going to talk about it really briefly. Resonance, harmony, and dissonance. If you know and can feel, right? You can feel resonance with a person. That is reflection. That is reflection. When you feel harmonic to a person, or you feel harmony with a person, that's not reflection, because you're not the same. A reflection is the exact same flipped, right? When you look in a mirror and you see your reflection, you see yourself, but you see yourself as other people see you, because it's flipped. You see yourself, right? It's the same way when we're dealing with our reflections in people. We see ourselves, but flipped, or we see it in a way that it is projecting back to us, not similarity, but sameness, right? When it comes to harmony, two notes that are harmonic on a scale, if you're talking music wise, they're not the same note. They just sound good together because of the mathematics, right? A 1, a 3, and a 5. You know what I'm saying? So what happens is, when you feel harmonic with a person, you feel similarities. That's more harmony. When you feel resonance, when you feel or see sameness, that's resonance. But when you feel dissonance, when you feel repelling, and not all the time, because sometimes resonance can be repelling when it's flipped, right? But when it's just off, you know what I'm saying? When it just clashes, when you just always, that is something based on where you are in that moment, where you know you don't have sameness and you don't have similarity. So you cannot relate. You're not reflections. So think about this. When you think about the people you draw in your life, as far as romantic relationships, as far as friendships, as far as who you interact best with in your family, brothers, sisters, uncles, aunts, all of these kinds of things, people you interact with on social media, people that request you on social media versus people you request. You request people because you might see a similarity or something that you desire to learn from that person, or you think they're funny or whatever. I don't want to stay on social media, but in all of these relationships, in all of these kinds of networks that you have, the most important thing is realizing and knowing who is resonant, who is harmonic, and who is dissonant. And therefore you can tell and know. And even within each person, there are aspects of them that are resonant, harmonic, and dissonant. But overall, when you know who is resonant, harmonic, and dissonant in your network to you, then you know who you're looking at as far as reflections are concerned. You can look at someone and be completely dissonant and know this person is not like me at all. You know what I'm saying? That's not really a reflection. Although you must still look at that person and see, because there may be times in your life where you have to, or where you encounter that kind of energy, where you become that kind of energy based on the phases, based on the cycles of your life, based on, you know, what's happening cosmically, all of these kinds of things. You take on different aspects right? Different aspects of your life that color who you are, right? So when that happens and you take on that conditioning from that aspect of your life, you also can take from what you've gained from watching others that are not like yourself and learn from that thing, because maybe that's the energy that you're dealing with now. And you got to say, oh, I can learn from this by thinking about how so-and-so handled it, whether it was good or bad. To see, it's easy for me to handle X, Y, and Z because I've dealt with this all my life. This is part of me. This is something I see in the mirror. But if it's something I've never dealt with in my life and I see it in somebody else and I judge it, but then when the time comes for me to deal with that energy, then it becomes, oh, now I understand. Now I see why they were wrong in how they dealt with that situation, or right in how they dealt with that situation. All of that said, I digress, but be careful who you call reflection, because that's where you take on identification of aspects of yourself in your programming, in your design, I should say, not your programming, but in your design, right? Who you are. Take on conditioning from others because you think they're your reflections, and really sometimes they're not. Or in some areas, they're not. Be careful who you call reflection. I love you. Peace.